Signed to Michael Jackson.
Yes.
Can you tell me like how did that even come together?
You know, it's crazy because I tell the story a lot, and you're gonna see a lot of it in the book Diary of a Diva comes soon. But it really was. I mean, obviously, it was God. You know, a great opportunity that came out of something that honestly kind of scared me a little bit.
Okay.
The truth is, I got stranded in the desert after we put the group together and put our little demos and whatnot together. We were walking down the street in LA on Melrose. That's when Melrose was Melrose, right?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
it's different now.
Yeah.
But we were walking down the street on Melrose, and this guy, was like, "Oh my God," to Maxie, like, "You're drop dead gorgeous. Will you participate in my music video?
Wow.
Will you be the lead in the video?"
Wow.
So me and my Detroit energy, I was like, "Girl, yes, we'll do the video. I'm gonna connect with these people because they white people." So you know how you do. You know how we do, right?
Yeah.
So long story short, a tire blew out on one of the 15 passenger vans. And there were two. And, they were like, "Oh, we got to get the shot." So I was like, I'll stay behind with one of the producers to, network a little bit and support the person.
Yeah.
Long and short, nobody ever came. No AAA came. We were stranded in the middle of the desert. We walked into a bar, basically, like in the middle of nowhere.
This is really
actually happening, right? We walk into this bar because we're like, okay, we got to find somebody. It was way out, right? And not the desert like where you see mirages of water, just a desert town, a small desert town. So long story short, he walked over to these two guys and he was like, "Hey, I'll give you X amount of dollars. This is what I have in my pocket to get us back to LA." They were in the El Camino. Sorry, but no thank you. He left me stranded in the desert, left me. Like, if you're not gonna go, listen, it's a hotel, whatever. I'm walking down the street, literally crying, praying, like, "God, if you get me out of this." Look up, and there's a desert police station. Go to the police station, call Mimi, who was in the group at the time, crying, sobbing, "Can you please come and pick me up?" She came and picked me up to make up for leaving me stranded in the desert.
Wow.
One of the producers said, "I'll hook up a meeting with you with Emerald Forest Publishing." A friend of mine is a publisher.
All right.
So we're like, great. So a week or so later, we went, had this meeting with this guy, Barry Kolsky, at Emerald Forest. And, it was a courtesy meeting. He was going to take us to a lunch and let us meet with the publisher to make up for me being stranded in the desert and left by his partner.
Okay.
So Barry listened, and he was like, we sang foreign place and music. He was like, "Oh, very nice, but not exactly what we're looking for." And I remember the look on his face, the way he turned his nose up and everything, because that is a moment you never forget. Like, this might be it.
Yeah.
On the way out the door, two women who were sitting downstairs were like, "What was that upstairs we were listening to?" And I was like, "Us. I'm from Detroit. That's our music. Boom, let's do it."
Yeah.
We sang and performed for them. They were the owners of the company that Barry worked for downstairs.
Wow.
They were like, "Can you come back and do this again? We want to take you to introduce you to somebody." Long story short, they introduced us to Jerry Greenberg, and the rest is history.
Just like that.
Yeah. So I had to tell the long-winded story because it was
good.
really just from the desert, literally, to Michael Jackson.
Wow. And then, okay, can you describe the first conversation that you actually had?
So Michael was very well protected,
Okay.
So, and one of the beautiful things is because we have written most of our, pretty much all of the music, I co-wrote, produced with producers. They allowed us to just create the album. So he wasn't involved in the day-to-day of creating the album, except he would listen to every record. His team would listen. They would send them over to Michael, and we would get notes back.
Yeah.
So, we never spoke directly to him until we started doing those conferences and conventions they used to have back in the day.
It was super
like the Jack the
structured.
Rappers. Oh, yeah, no. It was no, hey, come hang out.
Yeah.
Although we did get invited to the house for Thanksgiving, and we met the family, and we went, in Encino.
Yeah.
And, we did have a few interactions with him, but it wasn't like that. It wasn't like, "Hey, Mike." That wasn't it.
So there was never like a point in time. You said he would listen to the records. Did he ever give you like a piece of advice?
Yes, we got feedback often. John O, who was our head of A&R, who we love. We had a great team at MJJ. Jerry, John O, really incredible people. Would often give us, I actually have notes at home that I'm saving for the book Diary of a Diva, which is coming soon. But just like it would be on the letterhead, notes from This Is What We Change, and it's interesting because a lot of people don't even know Grapevine on our album was.
I heard it through the
demo. It's the demo recording of the Grapevine.
The one that
I went
released.
in and referenced in demo. The one that was released.
Yeah.
That everybody's listening to. That 5.5 minute song was actually the demo version, because one of the notes we got was we like the demo better than what you re-recorded. So that was actually like, you know, back in the day we would reference the vocals, and it wouldn't just be a half-ass reference. Like we would go all out.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Grapevine was the reference.
Yeah.
That was the reference vocal.
It's funny that you're talking about references, because I was listening to, speaking of Michael Jackson, the reference to, was it was off the first Off the Wall album.
Oh wow.
Yeah, something related with Quincy Jones or whatever. And the reference, they were talking about the producer.
Yeah.
The reference was so trash.
Really?
The dude that wrote the song, it was it Can't Help It? No, that was on
Ooh,
Thriller.
that's a banger too.
I know. It was I can't remember. And it kind of like the online demo. It went online or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was just trash. So when you telling me how, like you know, you're talking about the references, and that was the version that came out.
Yeah, no, because everything you did, when you get a deal with Michael Jackson, everything you do has to be top tier.
Yeah.
Like what you doing. You know what I mean? Like I do remember specifically, and I share this a lot. I remember the conversation that we did have. I was like, you know, first of all, thank you. You changed our lives, whatever. And I was like, I'm nervous. And he was like, why are you nervous? I chose y'all because you're great.
Wow.
Go out there and be great.
Wow.
Don't let your nervousness prevent you from being great.
Yeah.
And I just carry that with me everywhere. Because, I mean, ain't nobody else really got to say shit to me. I'm like, Michael Jackson told me I was great. Gave me a record deal. What you talking about?
When did you discover the ability that you knew you were a great songwriter? Like, where did that come from?
You know, my dad was a Motown writer. My dad wrote If I Were Your Woman for Gladys Knight. My dad worked with Michael Jackson when he was young. He's got references and demos with Michael.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Barry Gordy. Barry Gordy's niece, Robin Terry, who runs Motown now, is my college roommate.
Okay.
So, you know.
It was in you.
It was in the DNA. And my mom's a jazz singer. And I get it from both parents.
Okay.
They're both artists. They met with her being a singer and him being a producer.
Okay.
So I wasn't supposed to do nothing else, really.
It was destiny.
It was just in my DNA. And I'm from Detroit. What we doing?
Hilarious. Talk about, so like Brownstone, when did it, like, it was a very, very, very big deal in the 90s. I remember.
It's still a big deal.
No,
now.
I'm talking about when y'all came out.
Right,
I'm talking about as you came out.
Yes.
When was there like a shift in the group, like different members and stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, in the first iteration of Brownstone, which was Nicci, Maxie, and Mimi.
Yeah.
The truth is, Mimi just decided she didn't want to do it anymore.
Okay.
It wasn't girl group drama per se.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was just, she just felt like, hey, I want to get my education. Her father was the vice chancellor at UCLA. She fell in love.
Yeah.
We had a very grueling schedule. We would go to Europe and be over there for 5,000 years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was just a very, it took off so quickly that she just, you know, really honestly, I will never forget. It was like, okay, just take some time to think about it and let us know what you want to do, because she wasn't really, it had gotten to a point where I don't feel like she was participating wholeheartedly in it, because it just wasn't wholeheartedly in her spirit. She was even getting, like, there was times when her bronchitis would get crazy. You know what I mean? And she would have, it was just a lot, I think.
Yeah.
You know, being a young woman who had a passion for education, which she still does. She's an incredible educator in Los Angeles now. She has some amazing children as a result of her relationship. So I don't think she really has any regrets. We had a chance to come back together for Essence for a moment, which, you know, was great.
Yeah.
But when Mimi left, Kina, who was actually my homegirl from Detroit, and we went to college together, and I just knew she could sing. I was like, yo, there's an opportunity here in this group. Mimi's leaving. It just makes sense, because Kina's an incredible singer, as was Mimi. Why don't you give it a whirl and see if it works for you?
Right.
And with Kina, there was definitely tension and girl group stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think it's very difficult. The thing about Brownstone and being, you know, a group where everybody sings lead is that if everybody is a lead singer, you get the benefit of that dope sound.
Yeah.
But then you also get the disadvantage of, like, well, hold up, I'm just as dope as you are. So why am I over here and you? And we tried to do a lot of, like, I'm not the person who always has to be in the middle. Like, I'm not the person who always, I speak in interviews because I like to talk. I like to share stories. I speak. And Maxie never liked it. So it was just naturally a thing that I did, you know. And people had grown to appreciate the originals because they knew us. So when Keena got into the group, there was a whole lot of, well, she ain't Mimi and she ain't such and such, and why she did. And then that, it becomes difficult when you have your homegirl who's like, yo, you're supposed to pad me from all of this drama and stuff. And I'm like, child, I'm trying to act. I'm trying,
right.
I'm on Martin now. I'm doing like all sorts of other stuff.
I wanted to get into that
which,
too.
You know what I mean? Like, so as they started to have more aspirations to step out and do their own thing, which Maxie did too. People don't know. Maxie moved to London for 10 years and like, I want nothing to do with the group. Listen, that's all a part of the book. Like people assume that it was just me and ego and big voice and taking over. But this was really like, I would literally try to pull back a lot of times. We had issues. I went and spoke to the network. I'm sorry, the network, wrong group, the record company. Because the I Can't Tell You Why record, there's a version of it with me singing on it. I absolutely did not want to do that record. But that came down from the top of Sony. No, Nicci has to do this record. Maxie was like, why? I was like, why? She's dope as fuck. Why isn't she not doing this by herself? And people assume that it's something that I just push myself into when it's not. That was when the label was of the mindset that you have a lead singer and then a second person and a third person.
Yeah.
And they made those decisions.
So you felt like you were in a space where you were balancing being a team player, but also having a lead persona of your brand within it. Is that like a battle that you
It was to a degree because it wasn't just me. Again, keep in mind, we're 23 and 24.
Right.
And we from the hood. And even though I was vocal about certain stuff, it was certain stuff I wasn't taking.
Right.
I wasn't, Nicci go sing that song. Tommy tell you to go sing a verse. What you gonna do?
Right.
No, sir. Although, I think Tommy respects me because there were moments when I had to be really straightforward and honest. I never really bit my tongue, but in those situations, it's a business. They're marketing and promoting us, and this is what they're asking for.
Yeah.
So I think it was a little bit of what was required of me as a part of my responsibility in this group as the label identifying me as a lead and the struggle that I had of wanting everything to be equal.
Yeah.
Trendsetter.